Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2.
That's going to get hard.
That's going to be, I can't believe we actually even made it to Season 2.
Yeah, not canceled.
Thanks very much for everyone for listening. My name's Brandon Curry.
Jeff Collins.
Josh Bond.
And Trevor Lindy.
And that's the only time you might hear him.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Come on, give me a break.
Trevor, how do they share and care and
Apple
all that
TV.
kind of stuff?
Apple TV, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify,
Facebook,
you name
LinkedIn.
it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Well,
Twitter.
those are all the social
we have a
medias,
Twitter account.
right? So,
Yeah, but let's find it out.
And thank you very much for our sponsor, Brand Boulevard, who gives us all of our guests little trinkets. And speaking of guests, we have our guest in today, Dave Nash, owner, proprietor of Jack Nash Fine Clothiers.
And it is fine clothes.
It is fine clothes.
My
How's
wife
it going?
noticed it
Very
from a
good.
distance.
Very good. Thanks for having me.
And you got your little Brand Boulevard thing.
I do. I do. Thank you.
So we wanted to have you on as professionals who do shop in your establishment.
Or will.
And you will, Jeff. You will, because
Okay,
you
we'll
want.
check that out.
So
I have lots of questions.
he's got a lot of questions.
How much does this cost?
Yeah,
How much is it?
How much should I bring?
Yeah, we all wear. A lot of us wear the 7 Downey shirts. Shout out to 7 Downey Street, and they all have the little tag at the back, and which is what your wife noticed.
Eye catching, yeah. She's
So,
like,
There are a lot of
8 or 9
other,
guys,
little
and there's
red
wise
tab,
guys
little
saying,
red
hey,
tab,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like,
there are a lot of other good brands.
I think
there
I
as
asked
well,
you too. I'm
but-
like,
Yeah.
what? That was the eye catching.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. That's remember you said.
So you will be making a trek into Nash's
I'm just
place.
debating whether I bring my wife or not, because it gets expensive. No offense, baby. It just costs me some jewelry.
Located.
So,
Where are you located?
where are you located?
In St. Catharines in the Grantham Plaza.
And how long have you been around for?
The business has been around this year's 73rd year.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So my
Congratulations.
grandfather,
You've been in business for 73 years in
the
retail.
family, yes.
So third generation now?
Third generation I am.
Excellent.
Yes.
Wow.
My grandfather, my father, and myself.
Just with this is a fairly loaded question, but with the World Wide Web, otherwise known as the internet, how have
What
you?
a smart ass.
That's for me, yeah.
How have you lasted 73 years when big conglomerates like Target bailed out of bloody Canada? Sears is out of business.
Kmart.
Kmart's out of business.
Wilco.
Wilco's out of business.
Well, just retail is a tough
yeah,
gig
it's just such a
generally.
tough industry.
Well, especially
but
when they're big-
not only that
big
though,
square
guys.
footage.
We're talking about multi-billion-dollar businesses, like with deep pockets and shareholders. You are the Nash family.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's humbling. It's hard to believe, actually. Sometimes I even think it's hard to believe because it isn't the easiest gig. We enjoy it, obviously. Our family enjoys it. I enjoy it. I wouldn't still be doing it, but probably because of the foundation my father laid down and instilled in me, and that's looking after your customers. Simple. It's pretty simple.
And I got to give you some credit too. I mean, you and I we talk quite a bit. I bust your chops quite a bit. But you are like
You're a beauty, for sure.
You are 100%. Like we love you for it. And because I mentioned the podcast, and you're like, you look at me like with like a podcast. What the heck's a podcast?
Are we doing laundry?
Yeah. What's Tide Pods? I heard about that. And then we're talking about social media, and you're like, Brandon, I'll get that to you. I got people do it.
Yeah.
But that's to your credit that you are constantly thinking outside of the box to make it to 100 years. You know, to be frank, you're always trying to evolve.
Well, listen, if I've learned anything, it's that I have to let people who have the expertise, like you guys, do certain things that I frankly can't do,
Right.
or don't have the inkling to do, because I want to do what I do best, and that's the clothing business.
Right.
And I understand that, and I understand it better now than I ever understood it. Can't do 100 things. So the people who do that media stuff, social media, let them do it. That's why they have companies. That's why they started, and I'm good with it.
And
It's
you
fine.
definitely see a
Support them.
value to it, too,
Absolutely.
right?
I see that. It's not like I don't see the value.
Right.
It's like it's a little foreign to me because I'm not in with both feet.
Yeah.
But I understand. I mean, it's what has to be done.
It's
You
for
want
the
to stay around.
Millennial pleaser,
Absolutely.
basically. That's the way it goes.
Absolutely.
So how long have you particularly been in the business?
I've been in, so I went to university, came out, worked for a company in advertising for a while, then left, then opened up my own advertising company. And as an aside, I opened an ad specialty company, much like Brand Boulevard.
Okay.
But this was 35 years ago. So kind of before its time almost, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And did that for a couple years, and then came with my dad.
So yeah, you grinded it out.
Yeah, so 30 plus years I've been doing it.
Oh, that's a good haul.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what would you say is maybe the single largest character shift or change in your industry that?
And when did that happen? too?
Yeah,
What would
so
you
I
say?
mean, for me, when I entered in, it was very much a loyalty-based business, as were many other men's stores in St. Catharines. There was lots.
Many stores, period. Right?
Many stores, period. So, as we spoke before, there was my father, my uncle, 3 or 4 key guys in my dad's store, and they all had their own group of guys that shop with them. Not that it didn't cross over, but the guys were loyal. Like Brandon went to see Dave, so when Brandon came in, he went to see Dave.
Unless Dave wasn't there.
Unless Dave wasn't there and then someone helped them. But generally, everyone had their customers. As time went on, so as I got into it a little bit, the mall era came.
Yeah.
And the explosion of malls. And that was a big setback because it was the start of demise of the downtowns in cities and the uptick of the mall and that kind of shopping. So all of a sudden St. Paul Street started to go down, the mall flourished, and it was tough. It was tough going because you couldn't draw customers. There was no parking. It wasn't convenient, all those things, right?
Well, they're just going to get clothes at your place. Over at a mall, they're getting a clothes, maybe a CD at the time.
And it was novel. Everyone wanted to go to the mall, right? And it was the spot to go.
It feels like it's reversing almost.
Well,
now, right?
absolutely. So now time goes on a little bit. Then the next hurdle was the box store.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden there were the power centers,
The big box stores.
real big malls.
Yeah.
So another little setback. So you shift and you kind of try to hang in there and you tighten your ship a little bit, and there's less staff because there's less customers, and try to keep it tight. But now I believe there's a real shift back to, and it's your age group that's doing it, where they're not 20, but they're at an age now where they're starting to get into their own business, and they see the need. I need someone who's going to give me the straight goods here.
Yeah.
Like I can't, I don't have time to go somewhere and try to figure it out in a store where no one's helping me.
It's so funny you say that. Like Jeff always says, like I've got a guy, and like we all try to be our own center of influences, but we also love referring other people.
Right.
But it is true, like millennials per se are the first ones to actually statistically, as much as we get harped on, we're more zennials than anything, but of
Zennials,
being
I like that.
being what we are, but we're actually the only our generation, zennials and then younger, are the ones that actually are more likely to see professionals for specific things. Like
Right.
we're more likely not to go online to get incorporated. We're going to go see a lawyer. We're not going to sell our house by ourselves. We're going to go to a realtor and
course.
that kind of stuff. Talk to the professionals.
Yeah, and it's because you've just lived through that era where, I mean, I have a couple of 20-year-olds, and one of them in particular does every single thing he does online. But I see the back and forth with the Amazon and the boxes and the shipping, and it's no good, and it goes back in the box. And I always say to him, doesn't this drive you nuts?
It drive me nuts.
It drives me nuts. I'm not doing it.
Especially
It would
for
drive me nuts.
clothes, you
Yeah,
know?
not a
You
chance.
Well,
feel
and
like
I
fit,
understand.
yeah.
I understand there's things that are easy to do online.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't think a shirt or a jacket from my store is an easy thing to do online.
Well, how do you know how it fits?
Well, and what the material
Right,
feels
that's
like and
that's
how
the
it looks,
difference,
you
yeah.
know?
And I'll give you a good example. So I'm doing a fair bit of wedding parties today. As you guys know, no one rents tuxes too much anymore.
No.
The parties come in, they want to get suits for the wedding party.
Yeah.
So typically it would be a bride and groom come in to talk, usually by referral. And the first thing they do is pull their phone out. It's kind of what I want.
Yep.
So me being me, my age and my era, it's like, okay, that's what you want. So I know without saying it, I know, you don't have a clue what they have on other than you're looking at the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the fabric is. You don't know anything. You just know, I love
like
that.
the way that
I
looks
love
on
the
it.
way the guy looks in that.
Yeah.
So he's a model.
Yeah.
It's stuck to his body.
Yeah. He's trim.
It all looks great. But now
No double chin.
But now let's blow the picture up. Let's talk about what I see. Okay, so that's linen. Do you know what linen is? No. Okay, so linen is this, and I go show them some linen. Oh, that's wrinkly. Correct. So you don't want linen, right? No, but you want this look, and then we start getting into it, and then all of a sudden, yeah, that's not really what I want at all.
That's
and
today's
so
day and age in a nutshell.
So
yeah.
that's what it's fraught with.
Yeah.
That's why you have to touch,
Yeah.
and that's why I think we still have a viable spot.
Well, I think the way today's generation kind of goes, you're searching on Facebook, for example, and you see an ad come up for clothes.
Right.
And the clothes, like you said, look great on this person, all that. And then you buy it, and it comes from somewhere overseas, and it takes you a month and a half to get there. And then when you get there, it's 2 sizes too small, and you pissed away $120 thinking you saved $400 on it, and then you wasted that money.
And time.
And time.
Time's a commodity.
Like
you
I
can't get
literally
back,
did
right?
that before, and I bought like a hoodie. It was a kind of cool. Almost had a fabric like that too.
Right.
I thought that looks really cool, and I bought it. And I'm a large size. I'm almost like a rack large size, and it came in and it fits my 9-year-old.
There you go.
It fits. I'm a 205-pound guy, and it fits my 9-year-old.
Because you guys know that
You were shopping boys.
Well, no, I wasn't. I picked large, but maybe it was a Chinese male large. I don't know. Like, and it didn't fit at all. So I said, what the hell?
But
I learned
it
a hard
is-
lesson.
It is to it is to that. I guess. I mean, how I guess there is still that movement to have that guy that comes into the office, does all your measuring and all that kind
Yes.
of stuff, and he or she orders it from overseas, and
Right.
But the material, I mean, falls apart within a year. Like it
Yeah.
disintegrates pretty much. Like
Right.
it's not good quality stuff.
I mean, that issue, I think, Brandon, existed when I was in my 20s, and it exists today. So, I mean, the adage of what you get, what you pay for, I mean, it's not exactly 100% true, but it's a decent gauge.
Yeah.
It's a decent gauge.
Yeah.
Like you can't go into a car dealer and say, this $40,000 car is on sale for $18,000.
Right.
Because because you're a smart individual, okay, well,
What's the catch?
what's going on?
Yeah.
What's the catch?
What's going on?
Does it have an engine?
Yeah, there's something going on because you can't do that. Because the guy can't survive doing that.
Right.
Because
Below
if everything's legit, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's wrong? So,
Okay.
I mean, I think it's still
Hey,
holds true.
let's get to the nitty gritty here.
Go.
I'm interested in your stuff.
Okay.
So I'm a new guy coming off the street. I like the red tag or whatever. that appeals to me.
Right.
Well, it's included. A lot of people like to be included, and you see successful guys all wearing like that. Why is everybody wearing that? How much do I bring to your store to get suited up? Not suited up, but
How
I'm
much
a
do you
business
want?
casual
How
kind
much
of clothes.
do you want?
No, but that's what I want to know. Like if I'm going with my wife, what should I expect to bring? Because you don't want to get surprised because then you're like, whoa, I got to think this over.
Oh.
You don't want to take too little because then you want to embarrass.
But how you gotta?
Well, this is the question I'm
But
asking.
what,
Put 'em on
do
the
you
spot.
want? Do you want 5 shirts and 3 pairs
Okay,
of pants?
Jeff, I said, okay, so
this is
let's say
gonna ask
this.
the
I would
price.
I would never tell a guy you've got to bring this much money because that's being a little presumptuous on my part on how much.
I have.
There's lots of things. First of all, there's the
Because
brand.
you're looking at my Van Houston shirt here.
No,
This guy's
no,
got
no, no.
nothing here.
But as
Nothing.
a, and as a salesman, he's gonna say 10 grand. Come
Yeah,
on in.
yeah.
man.
No,
you know I wouldn't say that, but there's first of all there's more than one brand in my
Yeah.
store, which means there's a few different price points.
Yeah.
And I always have some things on special,
Yeah.
so that plays into
I'm a
it.
special hunter. just so
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
fine, as most people are. Everyone, I mean, the whole world wants the best they can get for the least amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all the same. Doesn't matter what commodity, you want to do the best you can. once you get into it and you see, the price points and kind of where you're at, you'll understand that probably it needs to be done in kind of, what's the right word? In a continuing kind of fashion, as opposed to, I get a guy who comes in, okay, I have nothing, all my stuff's old, I look like crap, my wife wants me to get new clothes, fix me up. So then it becomes
A new wardrobe, more or
well,
less.
it becomes onerous.
Yeah.
Because you need everything. So I always tell guys, you come in and you make sense of it. You start with the base color pants, black, gray, charcoal, and you need a few shirts to go with it. Maybe you need a sport coat to kind of tie it all in. But then you come regularly,
Yeah.
and you get another shirt,
Yeah.
and you maybe get another pant.
Pair of socks.
So it becomes easy to deal with, and more importantly, when the stuff wears out, it doesn't wear out.
It
together.
wears out?
At some point.
I'm not going to get married in this?
I was gonna
No,
say
but-
the socks. You just need to attend the Wise Guys
the
charity
guy-
golf tournament. And
So the guy who comes in and buys it all at once, down the road, I'm not going to see him, which is fine. He's
Yeah.
going to come when he wants. But all of a sudden, everything wore out together.
Yeah.
So he's got to do it again.
Yeah.
Well,
So why not stagger it? Easier on your pocketbook. Easier to keep it fresh looking. Easier to stay on top of the fashion if you care about that. So you stay a little
absolutely.
bit more current. Because things change
Yep.
quick in my business, right?
Yeah.
But I would, sorry, Brent. I'd say if you're looking at picking up an item or two, bring in a few $100s.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking, should I bring in $1,000 and let's pimp it out
You're-
a little bit, and then
well,
come
then-
back next year for another $1,000. and
In,
then
in,
That's
another
pretty much the
in
best
my
way to do it.
experience, you can.
I have minimal
you can
time for
easily
shopping,
get-
and I go
Right.
in there. It's like boom, boom, boom. Let's do
You
this.
can easily get 5 to 10 items for $1,000.
Well, and
Right.
you know what? I will say this, and a couple of us here are biased, but why I'm so loyal is because I remember when I started my business 5 years ago, right? Got into the business, which is all of our businesses are hard when you first start out, and I brought in all my, I didn't really wear a lot of business clothes because I was in a different industry where you could easily get dirty.
Right.
So I did have some stuff, but they weren't fitting and all that kind of. So I brought all that in. You actually tailored the stuff that you told me to keep, and only sold me, a couple $100 worth of stuff to start out. And then
Yeah.
it was I took your advice, and because I'm like you, Jeff. I hate shopping. I don't have time for it.
Right.
I'm in and out.
I'm in and out.
I'm in and out.
So like 6 months later, I come in, and now 5 years later, I've got close to 20 dress shirts and 3 jackets and 3 dress pants.
Mix it, it all works.
But the
And it
thing
all
with
works.
loyalty is, unless you grow significantly, he'll know your size.
Right.
You'll know your size. So you go into a rack, and you're almost picking the design you want. Put it on just to make sure that
They
it
got
fits it,
the
right?
stretchy belly areas in those shirts. That's the only thing that fluctuates on me.
But more importantly,
Okay.
I'm going to make notes, and I'm going to know what you have.
Yeah.
Even when you forget what you have. Because I'm going to say to you, Jeff, you've got the shirt you just bought for me. That goes with, oh, yeah. For some reason, I don't go to that shirt.
See, the scary part is bringing my wife, because I go in to go buy a 4Runner for Toyota, and I come out with a Lexus, and
Yeah.
oh my God. But it's a good thing, though, because she pushes me to the better stuff, because it doesn't, I look at that shirt right there, and I like the texture and look of
Right.
it. It looks like it'll last longer than...
Yeah.
And,
Good-
and they're
yeah, they
good
do.
lasting
They do.
shirts as well.
Yeah. So we're gonna tie up this episode. Can you stay around for one more episode? We
Sure.
want to talk about a couple things like
No problem.
succession
Sure.
Yeah,
planning,
that's smart.
and also sales in the big myths about sales in the retail industry. And I'll lead that off too, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening to episode 2, season 2
That's a
of
mouthful right there.
the Professional
Sure is. The
Insights
video.
podcast and the second video version. Trevor, how can they listen, share, and care again?
iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. No, not SoundCloud. What?
Anchor.
Too many.
iCloud.
Anchor.
All of them,
yeah,
pretty much.
Spotify.
Just look up
yeah.
podcast, and boom.
Professional Insight. Anywhere podcasts are found.
Perfect.
Help
Thanks very
us. Help us. Help you stay informed.
much. Take
Out.
care.